Recording in progress.
Good morning, dear Dharma friends. How lovely to see you. I just thought of Mr. Rogers. Have to change my jacket to a sweater now, a cardigan. So I am that which thinks of itself as Robert Beatty, which creates itself through thinking. And this body sits in what we call Portland, Oregon. And this is a Zoom meeting and Facebook and YouTube apparition of the Portland Insight Meditation Community, which is approaching completion of its major renovations. There were 15 people there working on the place yesterday, more than there's been in a long time. And they got all the railings up. All the railings are now on the ramps, the wheelchair ramps, and they put the wrong kind of door devices on the main doors entering and leaving the Dharma hall. So I need to leave fairly early this morning and go to Chown Hardware and get the proper thing. We have quite a fancy hardware here in town. Hardware, household stuff. Anyway, we're cooking along. The painting is almost done. I have a roll of blue tape, which I'm supposed to use to go around the building and put blue tape anywhere that I perceive that needs paint attention. So, in honor of today, I have a poem by Mary Oliver. When I am among the trees. When I am among the trees, especially the willow and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me the trees stir and their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches. And they call again. It's simple, they say. And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." the light flows from their branches. And they call again. It's simple, they say. And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. Mary Oliver. There, that is on the Connections listserv. Things could be so different. I met a young man on my way home last night at a 7-Eleven. Strung out on drugs, I think. Skinny, cold. I sent him on his way with a pack of cigarettes and a hot burrito and a few other things. He was so grateful. He said, I've been standing here praying to God that something would happen. That could be me or you. It's not. What good for it? Imagine having a house or an apartment where we control the temperature. Imagine having a functional fridge and a microwave to heat a burrito or whatever. Gratitude. Imagine running into the Dharma in this lifetime. A Dharma of awakening that works. That's good fortune. And imagine that we have community to practice with, to encourage us when we might otherwise not practice. And so let us remind ourselves of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. I take refuge in that which is awake. I take refuge in the Dharma and the way things actually are. And I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of practice. The Buddha recommended that we begin with the body. That we notice that it sits here. It's alive. There's life in the hands and the fingers. There's life in the feet. There's life in the shoulders, in the back. In the face. And this body breathes. As it always has since it was born. At the moment of birth, there's a direction that says, enter stage left. Remember to breathe. And then the whole drama begins. The somebody training. Living a whole lifetime. Enter or exit stage right. Stop breathing. And in between those two momentous instances, there is this coming and going of the breath. Let us develop of it a true home base through hundreds of thousands of repetitions. We train the synapses of the brain. This is a good thing to do. Be here with this beginning, middle, and ending of each breath. How is it that awareness exists? Sometimes or often there are thoughts. The story of I, me, and mine weaves itself. My opinion about that. My liking, my disliking, my mood. Where is it that those thoughts are known? Sitting like a rock. Letting go of all outer activities. Letting go of all outer curiosity even. Where do these thoughts come from? Can it be known? They magically appear with consciousness. The Buddhist view says they co-arise. We exist now. And where does this now come from? Does it have a beginning? Does it have an end? Or is it just a seamless, mysterious being? Sometimes it's useful to use the cognitive aspect of mind to make note of what's happening. As the chest and abdomen rise, with a small part of the being rising. As the chest and abdomen fall, falling. Or if you were to be practicing with awareness at the nostrils, in, out. Now these are concepts. They're added. Eventually they fall away, but they're useful, particularly when the mind has a lot of restlessness or agitation, or any of the hindrances for that matter. When there is waking up in the midst of a wandering mind, wandering, returning as one returns to the sensations of breathing. Perhaps your mind has a propensity to worry. Rather than trying to fight the worry, to get rid of it, which is pointless because it gets rid of itself in the next moment. You might note worrying, or just worry. If there happened to be anger, you could note angry. If there is joy, you can note joy. And so we abide here in the present. In the foundation of mindfulness of the body. In the foundation of the body of mental formations with the thoughts, emotions. And we rest right here in the present moment. Sometimes the trance of the wandering mind is quite powerful. Actually, sometimes it takes us on rides that last months. But sitting here in meditation could be minutes, lost in some fugue state, past or future, driven by some emotion. But then something really strange and remarkable happens. It wakes up somehow. We say colloquially, I cultivated mindfulness, I woke myself up. Is that true? Or is it more like in the midst of a wandering mind, suddenly there's knowing? It's as though the lights come on in a dark room and we can see the furniture. We are watching the evolution of consciousness. We are it. We are the greatest force for peace that could possibly exist. Peacefully being present with even the most violent impulses of consciousness that occur in consciousness. Right here in the cambium layer of life, this moment, it's alive. Beneath any and all obscurations Beneath the song of the self, we discover love, metta. There's room for everything. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am right now. It means to accept even the most unacceptable, the parts of the self that are the least favorite, the parts of the self that we project on others because they're not so likable. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. And when the discovery occurs of suffering or hurting, the hurtings of the body, the hurtings of the mind and heart, anxiety, fear, loneliness, greed, anger, it is my deepest aspiration to hold myself in sweet compassion, sweet, effortless, all-encompassing compassion. And when I am exposed to the suffering of others, my loved ones, friends, the world, another wave of COVID is washing through the world. And with COVID, 170 or so thousand people will die today. 200,000 babies will be born. Whenever I encounter the suffering of others, it is my intention to hold them in sweet compassion. And when I encounter or perceive the unskillful, even hateful behavior of others, I aspire to see that it is greed, hatred, and ignorance acting, not a person. Please now let us become aware of the body where it touches the chair, the cushion, the floor. Resting with great ease here and now. Please let us notice the life in the hands and the fingers, in the feet, the toes, notice the buttocks on the cushion and then the back. the expansive aliveness of the back and then into the neck. The back of the neck and the front of the neck. And the jaw. And the lips and the cheeks and the tongue. And the nose. And see how it might be to bring a tiny smile to your lips. So small that no one would even notice from the outside. And now bringing awareness, awakening awareness in the eyes. And doing what is required to open the eyes with the intention to open. And then notice the need to lift the eyebrows, or the eyelashes, the eyelids. We are opening another sense door. It's like a porthole on the world. And depending upon the quality of the healthiness, the intactness of your nervous system and the eyes, you may be opening to light shapes. Hearing a small dog at the door. And if the eye, if everything's working just right, then objects appear. Objects, and they have meaning, particularly these objects that are facing us on the screen. This object is going to move and let a dog in. Hello, come on, hey. No, come on. Okay. Seeing. Hearing. No, come in. Well, it's a funny dog. Every time I go to the door, he runs toward the house. He has a desire to go in the house. Timmy's in trouble. Lassie, go get help. I think I'm going to declare this an announcement-free zone. Is there anything you'd like to share, my friends? On this, the shortest day of the year? It's not particularly short for me. I'm starting now, and I have a class till 9. So it's kind of a long day. Jim, would you test my sound for me?
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Excellent. Thank you. Oh, do that again, would you? Can you remember your line?
Again, I forgot. Where am I?
That's good. Thank you.
Good morning, it's Denise.
Hello, Denise.
I just have a fun fact. You were talking about breathing, and I recently learned about the nasal cycle, which is that we actually only breathe dominantly through one nostril at a time. And so, like, when you have a cold and it always feels like one nostril is stopped up more than the other.
Hmm.
That's because that's the dominant nostril at that time.
What's it called?
So when it's called the nasal cycle. And so throughout the day, you switch back and forth between your right and left nostril being dominant.
Hmm.
So just fun fact, when you're breathing, one more thing to distract you.
Or to be curious about. Yeah. Do you suppose that political persuasion has any influence on it? If one is more left or right?
Well, since it changes throughout the day, I don't know.
I suppose it's more balanced than humans.
Good morning, Robert. It's Dave Mayer.
Hello, Mr. Dave.
You, for as long as I've meditated with you, you have used the phrase of co-arising, that sensation and awareness co-arising. And I've always listened to it and thought, okay, I guess I'll have to wait until I understand more. And it's been several years. And you said something the other day that got me thinking about it a little differently, which was, I don't know if this is what you intended, but I started, sitting, thinking, attending. Is there awareness without sensation? And is there sensation without awareness? And I kind of think that might be what you're talking about when you talk about co-arising, because wherever I attend, there is sensation. And of course, I'm not aware of any sensation that I'm not attending to. Is that the kind of koan that you're alluding to?
Yeah, though I don't know that koan is the right word for it, but the common experience, the common, I would say, illusion or delusion is well, I'm here and I'm this something, and then a seeing happens and I'm here to see it. Or a hearing happens and I'm here to see it. And the pointing out, which is very traditional Theravadan Abhidhamma, Buddhist psychology, is that when a moment of seeing occurs, seeing consciousness arises with the stimuli. It arises and then disappears. And there's no continuity, and there's no someone who's having the experience. It's just occurring. And so with the former, there's a belief in past and future. There's a belief in there's someone here who is knowing this contact. And the more, in my own experience, the more quiet the mind is becoming, the more obvious it becomes. It's not conjecture. The more obvious it becomes that in this moment, a thought arises, and it arises with consciousness, and then it's gone. And then there's another one. Or then there might be, oh, isn't this interesting? I'm really getting to be mindful now. A thought, that's gone next. So I don't think there's anything to figure out in it. So I sounded Canadian then for a moment. Nothing to figure out. There's just the clarification that occurs as we allow ourselves to be to abandon covetousness and grief concerning the world, said the Buddha. Now, if we abandon past and future, if we abandon remorse about the past and fear and covetousness about the future, then then everything gets clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer, because it's not structured in a linear something. It's just now. Thank you for your the diligence of your practice over all these years is very inspiring, encouraging. It's really you're really growing, aren't you? You are. I don't mean you're not a little insane sometimes. Of course, that's, But that too, that's just another part of us that comes into being. There's so many things that I've been saying for decades that I thought I understood. And I didn't realize, they're becoming clear now, like gravity sort of. It's like, oh, that's how it is. But, I think the clarification continues on for one's whole lifetime.
Hi, it's Joy.
Hello, Joy.
Speaking of understanding, a few years ago I thought I understood form as emptiness. Emptiness is also form, but now I don't understand it anymore. So maybe that comes and goes. But I think I mentioned last week that I did start understanding the idea of what exactly the trance states are, and how that relates to our identity and no self. So that was nice. Anyway, maybe form and emptiness will come back sometime.
No doubt. And I mean, what a thing to know the difference between thoughts and being lost in thought and being awake. I mean, one of the instructions in the Satipatthana Sutra is when mindfulness is present, to know, yes, mindfulness is present. It's a life transforming realization. And most people have no idea their mind wanders.
Well, yeah, and it was also about just the fabrication of our identities, how it's manufactured,
Yeah.
so that we can feel kind of as though we have ground under our feet, which can disappear at any moment, actually, as we see.
How true.
Yeah.
How true. Which does prompt me. January 4th, 7 p.m. I'll be hosting a Zoom meeting to listen to Vanessa Redgrave read The Year of Magical Thinking. Speaking of the ground disappearing under your feet.
Robert, will you be using the same Zoom link as this meeting?
No. Well, that's an interesting question.
And this is the same link you use for Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning.
It is. I need to think about that, David. Good thought, though. I'll probably not, because I want that link to be broadly, this one you have to do a little work to get to. You have to go to robertbeatty.com. It's not that any bot or any person can pull it up and go for it. So there'll be a registration process.
Okay.
And there will be no charge for it. I want to be very careful. It's a copyrighted thing, so they could be. Leanne already registered. Oh, is there a link already? Oh, well, there they are. The left hand, the right hand. Where'd you find it to do it? Oh, it was in the digest. Yeah, fantastic! Yay, Gregory and Molly. There will be a different link, David. It is true. My birthday is Friday. Was in the chat. And I figured out I did the math. I'm going to be 74 years old. Holy bejeebies. Well,
Okay, it's Denise again.
hello,
I
Denise
have another
again.
question.
Yes, my dear.
I was speaking with a friend recently who also, maybe about 10 years ago, did a series of went on a retreat and meditated for a while, and she doesn't anymore. And one of the things that she was talking about was when she was in that stage of meditating for a long time, at one point, the bottom dropped out. And she had that sense of, kind of no self, that moment where it's like, oh my gosh, this really is all impermanent.
Yeah.
And then I think she quit meditating. And she was kind of reaching out almost like, well, how do you keep going? And I didn't really have necessarily like advice or something. So I guess now I'm reaching out for advice. I just told her that, like, yeah, it really is unsettling. That didn't feel very helpful.
Well, the best advice is contact a good teacher. And because a skillful teacher who knows the terrain will listen well and perhaps be able to say something like, "Yep, congratulations, your practice is really working. This is not a mistake. You are very fortunate. This is the place that they call in Thailand the time of the rolling up of the mat. When a person says, well, I'm done, this is not what I want to do. Or it's the time, I'm forgetting the term, it's, it's the moment of the emergence of the terror of arising and passing away. And that teacher would help the person make sense of it and to realize it, because it's completely new terrain. It's not, it's a common experience for meditators, but it's not a common experience. The phone rings and the floor has fallen out of your life and you can be there in a heartbeat. But this is when you actually start perceiving the world as it's all falling away. There was a particular moment I'm remembering of. I was on retreat at a Catholic retreat center, and it was Sunday morning, and I was in a place of extreme terror like that. And it was so clear everything ends. And I went out for a walk. They had beautiful big Mount Angel Abbey. It was beautiful big redwood trees. I was walking out there back and forth, and a young couple came along with their baby, and I had children at that point, teenagers maybe, and they walked by me, and I barely restrained myself from sobbing, because I saw that they were meat bodies, and that they live in time, and that baby's going to die. It's just the reality of that was just, and I actually called someone from that retreat and got some support. So that's my advice, that a door opened for them, and who knows, a really skilled teacher would also be able to tell, is there some psychological trauma that's opening up as well? Because there could be some abandonment issues from childhood that they feel incredibly huge too. And so if we're going to be meditating significantly, I would say, we need a community and we need a teacher. In my IMHO, as we write, a teacher is not an option, not an optional phenomenon if you're going to go deep. Because it's kind of like, I've never been backpacking, but I've been to REI, and I've got some really cool gear, and I'm headed off into the Rockies. I've never read Mountaineering the Freedom of the Hills, or I've never attended a class, but I know how to walk, and I've got great gear now, so I'm going to go off and do some serious. In fact, I'm going to go off trail. I'm done with trails. And then the shit hits the fan. I've been so fortunate. I guess I want to share this with you. Different things, psychological trauma, or I was in a relationship in the 70s, and my partner fell in love with another fellow. She went back to the East Coast and did acid with her high school boyfriend, and when she came back and got off the plane, I knew something. The first second I knew something was wrong. And then there was all kinds of complication for several months, and then they hatched the plan of meeting in Chicago on her way to do a meditation retreat at IMS, of all the crazy things. And so, and I went along with it, trying to be open and all that stuff that we did in the 70s. And so I took her to the airport, and we got to the airport, and something had happened with her ticket. It had been upgraded to first class, and it was odd. And she got on the plane, and I said goodbye to her. We used to say goodbye at the plane, really close. And I was totally insane. Freaked out. And it turned out that this fellow had, Roger was his name, this fellow had arranged it so that he was on the plane. He got on the plane in San Francisco and met her on the plane in Portland. So they went off to Chicago, and I was a wreck. And so I survived the first night. And then the second night I was with Ruth Dennison. There was a retreat at a moldy old church camp. And I immediately, I shared with her what was going on with me. And this was pretty early in our relationship. And however, after the evening sit was over, and I say this by way of having a teacher and having someone who will hold your hand when you're going insane and say, this is reality. And she told me, you come to my cabin after the sitting tonight. And I went there, and I stayed there all night. She stayed up all night with me. And she cooked apples in aluminum foil in the fireplace. And the piece that really was extraordinary was I would fall off into sobbing and freaking out. And she'd say, what's happening? And I'd say, well, they're in bed together. And she would go, wake up! You're hallucinating. Where is that? Show me that. And she did that, I don't know, 30 times maybe. You're hallucinating. And she was right. I was making something up. Turned out that what happened in Chicago was not what I was fantasizing. It turned out to not be such a great time. But I needed help. And I had it. So that's by way of having, and I've had the privilege of very fine therapists my whole adult life. So someone to go to and help me find sanity again when I went off the deep end. And I've gone off the deep end. So, the habit was to be off the deep end. So learning how to be sane has taken a lot of hand-holding. So that's a long answer to your friend's dilemma. But I hope they can get the help they need. And it occurs to me, stopping might be the wisest thing to do. When you don't, well, certainly it's true in the mountains, right? Don't keep walking. Stop. Build a fire. Build some shelter. don't keep wandering around, you'll make it worse and worse. So maybe that's true in a circumstance like that. She might have done the very wisest thing. Oh boy. Life.
Hey, Robert. It's Shannon.
It's Shannon. Hi. Fresh from retreat still. You're still
Yeah.
You're still a little high?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Well, I was just thinking, where does the concept of, so along the same train of thought, there's the idea that we are in this body, but we also, our energy, after or as we die, we really, our energy disperses or whatever, wherever it goes. But I actually find kind of like hope in that, like, because that, my energy will just keep going somewhere. I don't know.
And how does that create hope for you?
Just because the energy is like life to me, like it's bundled up with like love and the binding together of atoms and things like that, and light and so I don't know, just that whole being in that concept of life, light, love, energy that keeps going, I like that.
So in a way, it's refuge in the Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Well, I have an app on my my phone, which it gets turned off frequently. It's called We Croak. And 5 times a day at random intervals, it comes on, it says "We croak," and then you touch it, and then it has a quote from someone about death. And I'll fire it up again today. And there was one from, oh dear, oh it's so close, Mark Twain, who said, "The universe existed billions of years before me, and it will exist for billions of years after me. Why should I worry about anything?" It's kind of that thing, This is very convincing, but I don't know. Probably words aren't helpful, but we are it. We are the mysterious universe manifesting for a few eye blinks for the purpose that we can dance together, I think. We can live out our dance, and then who knows? We don't know. I don't know. But thank you. How nice that I sense the joy in that for you and the ease.
Yeah, definitely. That's, I don't know, that's the way that I've kind of, ever since like kind of leaving formal Christianity and then coming into learning about Buddhism and things, it's, yet still kind of, I'm not fully entrenched in Buddhism. And so I'm still learning concepts. Mm-hmm. And, but yeah, it's just, so I'm kind of like still like curious and looking for paths.
May you never become entrenched in Buddhism.
Yes.
Getting out of a trench is a pain.
Yep.
No more trenches.
Yes.
Well, folks, I should go soon. I have to get a door handle before things go too far at the center this morning. Yeah, we're going to drill a hole in the door and put in a handle. This is the main doors leaving the Dharma hall. I just caught them in time. They did get the crash bar thing all on the inside, so I need to take that off and refinish the door. But so any other thing that's pressing for someone before we go? So shall we unmute and be beautifully cacophonous. May all beings receive all blessings. Bhavatu sabbe mangalam. Bhavatu sabbe mangalam. Bhavatu sabbe mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Enjoy your nasal cycles.
Thank you, Hadley.
Everyone
Good.
together had left, then right.
Goodbye, Tamara.
Thank you, David.
Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Goodbye, Robert. Thank you, Had. Bye, Had. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Tamara.
Bye, Sweet Sherry. Live long and prosper, Had.